There is someone else nearby. Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. He activated the secret ability, Advanced Hearing, to the maximum and listened carefully. No one. At least within his listening range, there was no one. Su Jingxing activated his night vision and distant vision to the maximum. He scanned beyond his listening range inch by inch, but he didn't find anyone. This fellow who was hiding in the dark had good concealment methods. Su Jingxing sighed and prepared himself. Li Linzhou was still around. It would not be easy for the other party to take Feng Taijian away. Swish! A black shadow suddenly shot out from the dark forest on the right side of the Martial Suppression Office's headquarters building, rushing towards Feng Taijian. In the process of rushing, it split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16. In less than 3 seconds, 16 black shadows appeared in front of Su Jingxing's eyes. They also appeared in the vision of Li Linzhou, who was at a window on the 7th level of the headquarters building. After the 16 shadows appeared, they dispersed and dashed towards Feng Taijian. Swish! 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 Sword energy filled the air, emitting a bright light. Li Linzhou leaped out of the window and landed on the path. The long sword in his hand swung through the air, releasing streaks of sword energy to attack the 16 black shadows. Whoosh! 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 The 16 black shadows moved like ghosts, and half of them easily avoided the sword energies. The remaining half were struck by the sword energies. With a series of explosions, they exploded into mist and disappeared. But very quickly, in less than 2 seconds, the 8 shadows that had dodged each split into 2 shadows, restoring the total to 16 shadows. All the black shadows had the same goal, to pounce on Feng Taijian and leave with him. Seeing this, Li Linzhou naturally would not allow the other party to succeed. His sword energy continued to sweep across, and his entire person also flew over, moving close to Feng Taijian and standing beside him. In front of Feng Taijian, he defeated the black shadows that pounced over. Bang! 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 Muffled explosions resounded through the night without end. The black shadows exploded one after another and split up to produce more of them. There seemed to be an endless stream of people charging madly towards Li Linzhou from all directions. Feng Taijian, who had a rope tied around his body and a cloth stuffed in his mouth, was dumbfounded. On the roof, Su Jingxing's eyes flashed. These black shadows were formed from true energy. Each time a shadow exploded, a portion of true energy would be consumed. Continuous explosions would only deplete the true energy. Li Linzhou's sword energy was the same. It was condensed using externally released true energy. Destroyed a black shadow with each strike seemed powerful, but which one consumed more energy? Su Jingxing sensed carefully and found that they were similar. In other words, a manifestation of true energy was just enough to offset out a streak of sword energy. The final victor would depend on whose true energy cultivation was stronger. Su Jingxing did not know how many years of cultivation Li Linzhou had. He did not know the cultivation level of the mastermind who was still hiding in the dark either. But as the two consumed each other, their true energy decreased. Su Jingxing finally discovered where the mastermind was hiding. The 3rd level of a shop that was across the road in front of the Martial Suppression Office. As his true energy was increasingly depleted, the aura of the mastermind could no longer be concealed. Su Jingxing sensed it, and so did Li Linzhou. He immediately swung his sword quickly and defeating the 4 black shadows that were rushing towards him from behind. With a slash of his sword, he quickly flew out. Swoosh! Boom! The rainbow-like sword energy made a turn in the air and headed straight for the 3rd level of the shop across the road from the entrance of the Martial Suppression Office. Boom! A black shadow rushed out from the 3rd floor. Facing the sword energy, a palm imprint slammed out and collided with it, turning everything into nothingness. As the violent energies wreaked havoc, the Black Shadow's true body stepped into the air and charged towards Li Linzhou. This time, he did not manifest any more true energy clones. Instead, with a kitchen knife in hand, he landed on the path where Li Linzhou was. Swish! The kitchen knife radiating a blinding glow under the night sky. After slashing down, there was no knife energy released. Instead, there was an illusory knife shadow. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the blink of an eye, countless almost transparent blade shadows danced in the air and surrounded Li Linzhou tightly. Swish! 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 The sword energy around Li Linzhou increased the frequency of attacks and shot out rapidly in all directions. The two forces collided. Dang! 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 The sound of metal clashing echoed in the air. In the face of the densely packed and terrifying blade shadows, Li Linzhou's sword energy only lasted for 2 breaths before it disintegrated, turning into a large amount of energy that burst out in all directions. The swarming blade shadows immediately struck Li Linzhou. Pooh! Li Linzhou spat out a mouthful of blood. The protective true energy around his body disintegrated in half a second. He was sent flying more than 10 meters away by the impact of the blade shadows. He crashed into the small forest and broke 7 to 8 trees. Finally, he landed on the ground, creating a human-shaped dent. He lost. As the #1 expert of Qinghe City, even if it was only on the surface, Li Linzhou was one of the most powerful figures in the city. However, he had lost this time. He had lost to a mastermind whom he didn't even get a clear look of, a mastermind who had defeated him with just a kitchen knife. Of course. The reason why Li Linzhou was defeated so quickly was firstly because his true energy cultivation was inferior to his opponent. Using his sword energy to fight the black shadows in the earlier half had already consumed more than half of his true energy. The second reason was that the kitchen knife used by the mastermind was not a semi-treasure weapon or a treasure weapon. Instead, it was a spirit weapon. Su Jingxing couldn't tell whether it was an ancient spirit weapon or a blood spirit weapon. However, he was 100% certain that the kitchen knife was a spirit weapon. That was because the densely packed transparent blade shadows did not carry any true energy or internal force fluctuations. It purely a unique force. This force shot out straight from the kitchen knife. And its might was so terrifying. Clearly, this was an ability that belonged to the kitchen knife itself. Which made it a spirit weapon. This was the first time Su Jingxing had seen the strength of other spirit weapons. He did not expect it to be such a situation. The mastermind behind Feng Tiejian's capture was a powerful 4th-grade cultivator, and he even had a spirit weapon. What did Feng Tiejian do to be targeted by such an expert? In his bewilderment, Su Jingxing controlled his body and Thunderbolt appeared in his palm. Whoosh! Like a ghost, he crossed the air and descended above the path on the right side of the Martial Suppression Office headquarters building. The black shadow that had just lifted Feng Taijian and was about to leave sensed something wrong and suddenly slashed towards the sky. Swoosh! 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 Countless invisible blade shadows danced in the air again and surrounded Su Jingxing tightly. Boom! It was like a thunderclap from a blue sky. Under the control of Su Jingxing's will, thunderbolt that floated in midair shot out over 10 thick bolts of lightning carrying terrifying heavenly lightning and swept through the surrounding space. Electric arcs coiled around him. Wherever they passed, the blade shadows would disintegrate into nothingness. Crack! 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 Boom boom boom. As resounding as thunderclaps, the lightning snakes danced wildly. Energy surged and stirred the air, and all the blade shadows disappeared. In less than 5 seconds, Thunderbolt won the first exchange. On the ground, Feng Tiejian's eyes grew even wider and rounder. In the small forest, Li Linzhou had just sat up. The corners of his eyes twitched as he revealed a shocked gaze. Spirit weapons. Spirit weapons usually make rare appearances once every few years. Tonight, two had appeared. One was a kitchen knife with transparent blade shadows. Its lethality was terrifying. If it wasn't because Li Linzhou's physique had been tempered and the true energy he cultivated possessed defensive capabilities, that wave of blade shadows earlier would have taken his life. In other words, this kitchen knife spirit weapon was enough to kill most fourth-grade martial artists. Yet, against another small sword spirit weapon, the attacks of the kitchen knife spirit weapon could not withstand a single blow. The blade shadows that filled the sky shattered into nothingness within a few seconds. The lethality of the thick lightning bolts released by the sword spirit weapon. No, to be precise, its destructive power was even greater. Li Linzhou could sense that the destructive strength carried by glowing lightning snakes was like real heavenly lightning and thunder. It was a terrifying spirit weapon with the power of lightning and thunder. The abilities of the kitchen knife spirit weapon were completely suppressed in the first round. In most cases, the power of heavenly lightning and thunder could indeed suppress most spirit weapons. Li Linzhou had thought of this, as had the Black Shadow's true body. The latter immediately abandoned Feng Taijian and moved swiftly. As he changed directions, he split into two into four into 8. The 8 figures first gathered together and weaved around. Then, they suddenly spread out and charged in all directions. Su Jingxing saw this and did not stop by controlling Thunderbolt to attack again. He simply watched as the 8 figures disappeared into the darkness. Firstly, Thunderbolt's energy was limited, so he had to save where he could. Secondly, even if Su Jingxing continued to use Thunderbolt, he could not guarantee that he could take down the other party. After all, the other party also had a spirit weapon in his hands, even though its abilities were suppressed by Thunderbolt. However, there was a limit to the number of times Thunderbolt could be used while Su Jingxing didn't know how long his opponent's kitchen knife spirit weapon could last. What if the energy of the kitchen knife spirit weapon could erupt continuously? In that, when the Thunderbolt ran out of electrical power, it would be Su Jingxing's turn to face the overwhelming attack of blade shadows. Thirdly, the other party was simply too fast. In just a few seconds, the 8 figures had already dashed several hundred meters away. If Su Jingxing wanted to catch up, he would have to use Thunderbolt's ability. Move at lightning speed. Truly being as fast as lightning. However, in this way, Thunderbolt's electrical power would be depleted even faster. With all these factors combined, Su Jingxing chose to let the other party leave. In any case, Feng Taijian was still around. The fellow was lying on the ground with a dazed expression on his face. Su Jingxing put away Thunderbolt and landed beside him, removing the restraints on him. Throughout the entire process, Feng Taijian wore a blank look. He was dumbfounded and had not returned to his senses. Pa! Su Jingxing patted him on the shoulder. Ah! Feng Taijian cried out in alarm. He jumped up and sprawled on the ground. He was excited, nervous, and pleasantly surprised as he shouted, "Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior, for saving my life. Thank you, thank you. What have you done recently?" Su Jingxing asked in a low voice. I didn't do anything." Feng Taijian's body stiffened. With a glum face, he said with grief and indignation, "I won't hide it from Senior. I really don't know what I've done to be targeted by these people. I've been eating, drinking, and having fun as usual. I've also been slacking off at work. I've never offended anyone, nor have I argued with anyone. Why was I targeted?" Feng Taijian said with a sobbing tone, "I don't have money, nor do I have any family heirlooms. I'm not handsome, nor do I have any talent in martial arts. What I like the most is eating. Is it wrong to like eating? That's right. I eat it every day, but I'm not fat. But I'm not the only one with such a physique. Why are those people targeting me? Just tell me what they want and I'll change." Su Jingxing said nothing. His gaze that was fixed on Feng Taijian flickered rapidly. There was definitely something wrong with Feng Taijian, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. If he had seen something he shouldn't have, the mastermind could simply silence him. There is no need to go through so much trouble to send out a fourth-grade expert to capture him. The fact that he is wanted alive shows that something about Feng Taijian himself, his body, blood, and even organs had caught someone's eye. Su Jingxing racked his brains and thought of various possibilities. He released his true energy and turned it into a force that slashed Feng Taijian's face, causing blood to spurt out. Controlling his true energy, he wrapped it around the blood droplet and brought it before him to examine it closely. Indeed, he did sense something amiss. There seemed to be a hidden energy in Feng Taijian's blood. It was not the bloodline power of the 3 candles blood, but something like a rich medicinal power. There is medicine in his blood. What heavenly treasures did Feng Taijian eat? No. There was something wrong with this medicinal power, but Su Jingxing couldn't put a finger on it. Have you eaten any rare treasures or spirit herbs? Su Jingxing studied his blood and asked in a low voice. Startled, Feng Taijian, who had shut his mouth, trembled. He shook his head and said with a trembling voice, No, no. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. I've really never eaten those before. Feng Taijian gritted his teeth and said, I'm always either eating in the crematorium's canteen or a restaurant. How can these two places have rare treasures and spirit herbs? That's right. It was impossible for any heavenly treasures to appear in the canteen or restaurants. Then what was with the medicinal power in Feng Taijian's blood? Guessed Elder Lin. Li Linzhou's voice sounded from behind him. Is there a problem with this young man's blood? Guessed Elder Lin. Hearing this, Feng Taijian carefully raised his head to look at Su Jingxing, who was wearing a cloak and a mask. He subconsciously swallowed his saliva. He knew Li Linzhou. The commander of city governance of the Martial Suppression Office, the #1 expert in Qinghe City. Yet he was no match for the Black Shadow with the kitchen knife. However, this, guessed Elder Lin, in front of me had managed to beat back the Black Shadow. His attacks were swift and fierce. For some unknown reason, he had cut his face and retrieved a drop of blood. There also seems to be something wrong with this drop of blood. Wait, there's something wrong with my blood. At this thought, Feng Taijian's body trembled even more violently. Senior L. Who? Strong wind swept through the sky. Su Jingxing released his true energy externally to envelop Feng Taijian. Carrying him, he charged into the sky. He executed the 8 steps rising dragon and increased his speed to the fastest. Amidst the sound of air friction resembling a dragon's cry, he disappeared into the horizon. On the ground, Li Linzhou opened his mouth and looked at the night sky. After a while, he sighed. If one's strength was inferior to another, one could not blame others. In the sky. Su Jingxing knocked Feng Taijian out immediately and headed straight to the Green Cloud Mountain range with him. As for ignoring Li Linzhou, there was nothing much to say. He couldn't possibly reveal that he knew Feng Taijian, right? He reminded Wu Shuhan to put Feng Taijian in the Martial Suppression Office because he wanted to clean up his true identity. For Feng Taijian, Li Linzhou had already suffered an injury tonight. He would not trouble him anymore. Him bringing Feng Taijian away as guest Elder Lin was a good thing to Li Linzhou. The mastermind targeting Feng Taijian was much stronger than Li Linzhou. If Feng Taijian was allowed to continue staying in Qinghe City and his location was learned by others, there would definitely be more people who would appear and forcibly capture him. Therefore, Su Jingxing wanted to spare all future trouble and bring Feng Taijian out of the Qinghe City. Now that person is gone, I'll see what the mastermind can do. Su Jingxing had also chosen the location to settle him, Chanyang Prefecture City. However, before going to the Prefecture City, he had to make a trip to the Green Cloud Mountain Range, to the valley where the big white goose was. Perhaps Feng Tiejian's situation was even more complicated than Su Jingxing had guessed. However, Su Jingxing couldn't tell his exact condition, so he thought of borrowing the big white goose's ability. The hidden contents on the last pages of the 8 Steps Rising Dragon and 9 Steps Trampling Heaven were revealed thanks to the big white goose. Perhaps the big white goose could also make the abnormality on Feng Taijian show up. As he pondered, Su Jingxing sped up. 400 years of cultivation was enough for him to expend freely. They raced to the valley. Su Jingxing carried Feng Taijian and landed beside the river where the big white goose was. Then, he called out for the big white goose while peeling off Feng Tiejian's clothes. He stripped the fellow naked and placed him on the ground with his back facing the sky. GGA. GGA. Upon hearing his call, the big white goose ran over from a distance. Seeing Su Jingxing, who had removed his cloak and mask, it flapped its wings excitedly. "I'm sorry, Brother Goose. I've been a little busy lately, so I didn't come to see you." Su Jingxing apologized first. He took out a big bunch of essence energy pills from his palm space and tossed them to the big white goose. The big white goose flapped its wings and leaped into the air, swallowing all the pills. After landing on the ground, it flapped its wings vigorously and raised its head to let out 2 cries. GGA. "Ha, don't worry. There are plenty of pills." Su Jingxing chuckled and took out another big handful of essence energy pills and tossed them to the goose. The big white goose opened its mouth and swallowed them all, flapping its wings excitedly. Seeing this, Su Jingxing took out another handful and the big white goose swallowed everything. After this time, the big white goose did not honk anymore. Instead, it wagged its butt, looked at Su Jingxing, and called out softly. There's indeed something I need to trouble you with." Su Jingxing blushed with shame. It seemed like each time he came here, it was to ask for help. However, the big white goose seemed very happy, so he laughed dryly and did not let himself feel conflicted. With a light cough, he pointed at the unconscious Feng Taijian, getting the big white goose to move close and radiate its glow. The big white goose agreed readily and emitted a silvery white glow that enveloped Feng Taijian. A hazy layer of red and green light appeared on Feng Taijian's skin as expected. Not 1 or 2 spots, but all over his body. What exactly is going on with this fellow? Su Jingxing narrowed his eyes at this sight. Feng Taijian has never eaten any heavenly treasures, but his body and blood were abnormal. Could it be a mutation? But a mutation occurring out of nowhere? Is it due to innate reasons, or caused by external factors? If it was innate, it's impossible for him to have no reaction all this time. But if it is external factors, why didn't Feng Taijian sense anything himself? Also, how did the mastermind know that changes had occurred to Feng Taijian's body? Or could it be that the anomaly in Feng Taijian was caused by the mastermind? Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat at this thought. Rearing pigs. A term suddenly popped into his mind. Feng Taijian had admitted that he loved to eat. The mastermind targeted this trait of his and secretly carried out a different style of rearing pigs to change his body into what he desired. Now that the pig was fat enough to be slaughtered, they came to capture him. TSS. After coming to this horrifying result, Su Jingxing's eyelids twitched. If Feng Taijian has really been reared as a pig, then who is the one doing the rearing? He has a spirit weapon and his true energy cultivation is even stronger than Li Linzhou's. Who exactly is the mastermind? Su Jingxing's eyes flickered. After a while, he took a deep breath and suppressed the distracting thoughts in his mind. After putting Feng Taijian's clothes back on, he changed his facial features and hairstyle. During the plastic surgery, he noticed that Feng Taijian was showing signs of waking up and knocked him out again. After everything was settled, Su Jingxing disguised himself as Yang Jian before bidding farewell to the astonished big white goose. Carrying Feng Taijian, he expended a lot of true energy, circulating the 8 steps rising dragon to the maximum as he headed straight for the prefecture city. The Green Cloud mountain range was less than 300 kilometers away from the prefecture city. Su Jingxing was as fast as lightning and he arrived at a remote corner of the city before dawn. Putting on his mask, he slapped Feng Taijian awake. When Feng Taijian woke up, he was bewildered and touched his own body repeatedly. The corners of Su Jingxing's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything else. He only told Feng Taijian that they had arrived at the prefecture city. Then, he led the shocked and dazed Feng Taijian out of the alley and headed straight for a luxurious hotel not far away. He asked for a luxury suite anonymously and paid for 2 months' stay in one go, including meals. Su Jingxing brought Feng Taijian into the room and said bluntly, "If you don't want to die, stay here for the next 2 months and don't go anywhere." All right. Senior, don't worry. I promise that I won't even take half a step out the door. Feng Taijian raised his hand and swore. But, Senior, why are you helping me like this? As he said this, Feng Taijian carefully raised his head and sized up Su Jingxing, whose face he couldn't see. I'm happy to. Can't I? Su Jingxing lowered his voice and snapped. Feng Taijian shut his mouth, not daring to make any more sounds. Cut the crap. Let me ask you. You said that you either eat at the canteen or restaurants. Which restaurant did you go to the most? Su Jingxing asked. The one I go to most. When Feng Taijian heard this, he scratched his head in thought. I think it's Scholar Restaurant. Yes, it's Scholar Restaurant. Senior, you don't know. Although Scholar Restaurant isn't a very famous restaurant, it's still a century-old restaurant. There are many dishes there that are very delicious and not expensive. I eat there once a week. Now that I calculate, it's been almost 5 years. You went there once a week for 5 years? Su Jingxing's eyes sparkled. Yes, about 5 years. Feng Taijian nodded and said, although there were a few times when I didn't go, in general, I basically go every week. What's wrong, Senior? Feng Taijian asked confusedly. It's fine. Su Jingxing controlled his breath and said calmly, I'm leaving first. Remember this, don't go out if you don't want to die. With that, he opened the door and left quickly. Behind him, Feng Taijian didn't dare to say anything and quickly closed the door. Su Jingxing walked out of the hotel through the main entrance and returned to a remote corner. As he soared into the sky, he no longer tried to hide his disbelief. Scholar Restaurant, the He family. The He family that had kept a low profile for 400 years was actually rearing Feng Taijian. That's right. After summarizing the few clues, Su Jingxing was 99% certain that Feng Taijian's strange body was due to eating in Scholar Restaurant. In other words, the He family was behind Feng Taijian's intentional transformation. The people who had come to capture Feng Taijian were most likely from the He family. The Black Shadow, who had used a kitchen knife spirit weapon last night and had a stronger cultivation than Li Linzhou, was also from the He family. After keeping a low profile for 400 years, the He family was probably the actual most powerful family clan in the entire Qinghe city. Even though the 3rd grade He Rengu had died, they still had peak 4th grade martial artists. Other than the He family, no one else knew how many of such experts there were. Even though Su Jingxing was really eager to know why the He family reared Feng Taijian. Because he knew that the He family was behind this, he had no choice but to pack up his ideas. He had no choice. Compared to the Shi family, the He family was even stronger. No one knew how many 4th grade experts they had hiding in the dark. Before he figured it out, Su Jingxing would not investigate further. For now, it was safer for him to wait patiently for the concentration fruit to ripen. Feng Taijian had been sent to the prefecture city overnight. As long as he didn't court death, the He family wouldn't be able to find him. 2 months later, after Su Jingxing had completed the visualization of the demonic heaven trampling elephant diagram, achieved the solidification of the heaven trampling elephant and was more confident, it wouldn't be too late to pay attention to the He family. He made a decision. Su Jingxing returned to Qinghe City and no longer paid attention to the situation outside. He stayed at the crematorium in peace. That afternoon, they received a phone call from a shocking murder case that requested for the corpse collection team to go pick up corpses. Su Jingxing followed Kong Debao and his partner to the crime scene in the city. The Tai Long building beside Tai Long Mall. The deceased had a powerful background. At the headquarters of the Tai Long Corporation, the vice president from the prefecture city, Tian Huaizhao, and his subordinates, an elite team of 6th-grade martial artists, had all died on the top floor of the building. TSK, I heard that when Vice President Tian Huaizhao died, there wasn't the slightest sound of fighting. The people downstairs didn't hear anything from upstairs at all. In the corpse transportation truck, Kong Debao looked at the message he had just received on his phone and exclaimed. "What's so strange about that?" "The murderer must have used poison," his partner said lazily. "Poison?" The driver pursed his lips and said, "These bosses of large corporations, dying from poison gas, they've gotten off lightly." "Whether he was poisoned or not is still debatable," Kong Debao continued. "Anyway, we'll know later. What I'm curious about is that he's a vice president from the prefecture city and the Tai Long Corporation is also a large corporation. How could someone be so bold as to sneak into the top floor of the building and kill Tian Huaizhao in Tai Long's territory?" "It might not be an infiltration," Su Jingxing interjected. "Perhaps he's someone that Tian Huaizhao knows, a distinguished guest that Tian Huaizhao had personally received him. Only, they had a sudden conflict, and Tian Huaizhao couldn't dodge it and died. If that's the case, it would explain why there was no sound when Tian Huaizhao and his men died," Kong Debao's partner speculated. "If that's the case, wouldn't it be easy to find the murderer?" Kong Debao was suspicious. "Even if there aren't surveillance cameras in the office, there should be cameras installed in the corridors, elevators, and lobby of the building, right? Hey, since they dared to poison him, they naturally wouldn't expose themselves," his partner analyzed. "I even suspect that there are spies inside the Tai Long building. According to what you've said, Tian Huaizhao died because of an internal strife." The driver was wide-eyed. "Most likely," said his partner, with an enigmatic expression. Su Jingxing saw it and held back his laughter. The few of them had only started a discussion in the truck because they were bored. In truth, no matter how Tian Huaizhao died or who the murderer was, it had nothing to do with them, even though the impact of this incident was huge. It was obvious that since Tian Huaizhao had come from the headquarters of the prefecture city, but died in the Qinghe branch office, and in the office on the top floor of the Tai Long building at that. The headquarters of the Tai Long Corporation would be furious at the way he died. Even their rivals would be filled with righteous indignation and send experts to investigate the cause of his death. Then, they would find the murderer and execute him. This was because Tian Huaizhao represented the entire Tai Long Corporation. That the murderer dared to break into the top floor of the Tai Long building to kill someone was equivalent to stepping all over the Tai Long Corporation. This grudge was undoubtedly even bigger. If there was a third-grade expert in the team sent by the Tai Long Corporation headquarters, the show would get interesting. Su Jingxing thought inwardly. The corpse transportation truck arrived at Tai Long Square. Su Jingxing, Kong Debao, and his partner got out of the car, put on their gloves and masks, and carried a stretcher to the entrance of the building. A crowd had gathered on both sides of the entrance, with security personnel maintaining order. As for the martial suppression office personnel, they must be on the top floor of the building, where the corpses were found. The appearance of Su Jingxing and company immediately caused a small-scale discussion. They claimed that no one had died. Who are they kidding? The crematorium's corpse collection team is here. That's right. If the Tai Long Corporation wants to keep this a secret, they should have a better understanding of where they are. Maybe they have their difficulties. Difficulties my ass. The people are already dead. Are we going to leave their corpses in the building to become corpse puppets? Su Jingxing suddenly had a bad feeling as he listened to the discussions going on in the crowd. Sure enough, as soon as the three of them stepped into the building, they were stopped by a middle-aged man and a few others. Wait, who asked you to come here? Get out. Get out. There aren't any corpses here for now. Annoyed, the middle-aged man gestured impatiently for Su Jingxing and company to leave. Kong de Bao took a few steps forward and said irritably, "No, you were the ones who called. And now you're asking us to leave again. We called. You must be mistaken. We never called." The middle-aged man's face was somber. Cut the crap now. There's nothing for you. Go back to wherever you came from. Kong de Bao glared at him. Hey, what's wrong with you? Do you think we would lie to you? Can you even take responsibility if a corpse turns into a corpse puppet? The middle-aged man's expression changed. Like I said, there is nothing for you here now. We never called the crematorium. With that, he turned around and left, waving at the others. Chase them out. Yes sir, said a group of burly men in black suits, crowding around Su Jingxing and company. Kong de Bao was furious. You guys. I'm the one who called them, a cold voice said. The middle-aged man, Kong de Bao, and the others present all turned to look at the entrance when they heard the commotion. The chief of control of the Martial Suppression Office Western District Branch, Sun Yi, strode over with a group of soldiers from the Martial Suppression Office. The moment he saw Sun Yi, the middle-aged man's expression turned livid. Kong de Bao and his partner were confused. What's going on? There weren't Martial Suppression Office personnel at the scene, asked Kong de Bao, scratching his head. That goes without saying. From the looks of it, the Tai Long Corporation was clearly trying to keep this a secret for now. In the end, someone leaked the news and exposed it, whispered his partner excitedly. Rubbing his chin, Kong de Bao sighed. Looks like it is a big show. A big corporation sure is complicated. The internal strife has come to such an extent, they're even refusing to let go of the corpses. Su Jingxing was at a loss for words as he listened to their conversation. Why do you guys have so many dramatic thoughts? Imagination was one thing, but it would be ridiculous if one went overboard. I don't think we called you, Chief Sunday. Ignoring Su Jingxing and company, the middle-aged man stopped Sun Yi and his men. In a low voice, he said, this is Tai Long's territory. If there are any problems, we, Tai Long, will resolve them first. If we can't, we will naturally call on the Martial Suppression Office for help. And, asked Sun Yi expressionlessly. And what? Asked the middle-aged man, stunned. Did I not make myself clear? If you can't solve the problem, we'll look for you. Now that we've solved the problem, we don't need you anymore. Please leave as you came. My apologies, said Sun Yi, grinning. This is Qinghe City. The land of your Tai Long building is in Qinghe. As long as it's within Qinghe City, the Qinghe Martial Suppression Office has the right to oversee criminal cases. Heh. Like you said, that's for criminal cases. We don't have a criminal case here, so what business of yours is there, sneered the middle-aged man. We'll know when we get to the top floor, said Sun Yi. He pushed the middle-aged man away and strode towards the elevator. Stop right there. The middle-aged man turned his body to the side and hurried forward to intercept him. Chief Sun, our chairman has given instructions to leave this matter to him. The chairman is already on his way and will arrive in Qinghe City in half an hour. It's fine. Sun Yi spoke indifferently as he walked. Your chairman is free to come. We won't hinder his investigation of the murderer. If he can find the murderer, it would save us a lot of trouble. You, the middle-aged man was furious. He wanted to stop Sun Yi, but was dragged together with him towards the elevator. To put it bluntly, he wasn't the top person in charge, and his strength was only in the 6th grade. On the surface, he seemed to be at the same level as Sun Yi, but that wasn't how things worked out. Sun Yi was the chief of control of the Martial Suppression Office. Now that Tian Huaizhao was dead, the Martial Suppression Office's interference was inevitable, and no one could stop them. Even if he made a forceful move and chased Sun Yi out, it would bring the stronger commissioners of defense, or even Li Linzhou himself. By then, the Tai Long Corporation would be at a disadvantage. Tian Huaizhao had died an unclear death, and if they offended the Martial Suppression Office again, how could the Tai Long Corporation maintain its footing in Qinghe? This was precisely what the middle-aged man was considering, and so he reluctantly followed Sun Yi to the crime scene. Watching the group leave, Kong de Bao asked Su Jingxing, "What do we do?" "Of course we follow," his partner said with a grin. "Didn't you hear what Chief Sun said? He called us here. If Chief Sun can go up, so can we." "Yeah," Su Jingxing agreed. He asked coolly, "What are you waiting for? Let's go." With that, he strode towards the elevator. "That's right, let's go," said Kong de Bao's partner, clapping his hands. He called Kong de Bao and followed suit. The three of them walked past a group of burly men in black suits who were looking at each other, unsure of what to do. Then, they headed straight for the elevator. There was nothing wrong with Kong de Bao's words. Since Sun Yi had already gone up, Su Jingxing and company were no exception. They had not received any orders, so it was best for them to stand aside. More importantly, no matter where the corpses were, it was best to cremate them first. If they were to turn into corpse puppets, as subordinates, they would only be at the forefront and die the quickest. With that in mind, the group tacitly made way for Su Jingxing and company to reach the elevator. They took the elevator and headed straight to the top floor. When they exited the elevator, they reached a spacious, flat-floor office. Immediately, Su Jingxing extracted 14 cards. Then, he scanned the entire floor and saw corpses on the ground outside the partition. These people were not poisoned to death, but killed by weapons. The movements were swift, and almost all of them died from a single strike, either to the neck or through the chest. As a result, blood splattered all over the ground, and the smell of blood was overpowering. Inside the door at the far end, Sun Yi and company were examining a corpse closely. Su Jingxing took a glance from afar and shifted his gaze away. Together with Kong de Bao and his partner, they began moving corpses. Even though Kong de Bao and his partner had guessed wrong, they were right about one thing: Tian Huaizhao's fate had nothing to do with them. As members of the crematorium's corpse collection team, they only had one job: move corpses. The corpses were put into body bags. Kong de Bao and his partner worked together while Su Jingxing worked alone. After making a few trips up and down, they loaded all the corpses, except for Tian Huaizhao's, into the corpse transportation truck. The middle-aged man had stopped them from moving Tian Huaizhao's corpse. In his words, the other corpses could be sent to be incinerated. But, no one was allowed to touch Tian Huaizhao's corpse. Sun Yi didn't say anything at the side either. Seeing this, Su Jingxing didn't insist. With several 6th-grade martial artists present, even if Tian Huaizhao turned into a corpse puppet, they would be able to kill him immediately. Su Jingxing naturally had no objections. Gathering Kong de Bao and his partner, they drove back to the crematorium with a dozen corpses. Sigh. To think that Tian Huaizhao wasn't poisoned to death. Along the way, Kong de Bao sighed again. The person who killed him was incredible. I took a glance at his corpse and realized that he only used one move to finish Tian Huaizhao off. That Tian Huaizhao was a 5th-grade expert, but he was killed with a single strike. This is ridiculous. What else? Kong de Bao's partner replied lazily. This was clearly done by an acquaintance. It's normal to be able to kill the target with one strike when he is unprepared. Yeah, said Kong de Bao, sighing. Who would have expected an acquaintance to do that? It's like Watch out! Su Jingxing yelled. Seated in the front passenger seat, he quickly grabbed the steering wheel and wrapped his true energy around the brakes to stabilize the truck. How? Thump. A dull thud came from outside the car. Accompanied by the sound, the corpse transportation truck shook. Its tires burst, and the remaining parts let out ear-piercing from rubbing against the ground. Su Jingxing had grabbed the steering wheel early, stopping the truck from flipping in the driver's panic. Instead, it continued driving along the road. Finally, the driver stepped on the brakes and stopped the truck steadily on the road. The other cars that followed behind stopped as well. An accident did not occur. Before the drivers of these vehicles could curse in rage, more than a dozen black-clothed martial artists, wrapped from head to toe, suddenly soared into the air from the left and right sides of the road. They landed on the roof of the corpse transportation truck. Bam! With a dull thud, the corpse transportation truck shook violently. In the driver's cab, Su Jingxing swiftly opened the door and threw the driver, Kong Debao, and his partner out of the truck and onto the ground with a knack. Finally, he bent down and hopped onto the ground. Ignoring the roof of the truck, Su Jingxing quickly moved away from the truck after landing. He then lifted Kong Debao, his partner, and the driver away from the truck in 2 trips. Bam! 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 As Su Jingxing and company fled, the men in black with no more misgivings surrounded the corpse truck and launched a barrage of attacks. The back door of the truck had been forced open. A martial artist whose externally released true energy was wrapped around his body in 3 different colors also struck savage and forcefully tore into the iron sheet at the top of the truck. Under the immense force, all the remaining tires on the corpse transportation truck burst, causing the entire truck to lie flat on the road. In front of the crowd, more than 10 men in black pulled the corpses out from the body bags and inspected them. They moved very quickly, each of them holding 1 corpse. They finished examining the dozen corpses in no time. There's no Tian Huizhao. Let's go. The martial artist who had punched through the roof seemed to be the leader as he issued the order in a deep voice. With that, he was the first to leap into the air. Stepping the air, he disappeared into the rooftop of a store across the road. The other men in black did the same, they hid in whichever corner they came from. A group of people came and left quickly. They forced the corpse transportation truck to stop, forced open the doors of the truck, punched through the roof, and checked the identities of the corpses. Finally, they left calmly. The entire process took less than 5 minutes. On the road, the shops on the left and right sides of the road, as well as the pedestrians who passed by, were all stunned on the spot, unable to return to their senses for a long time. Kong Debao, his partner, and the corpse transportation truck driver were all dumbfounded. What just happened? What just happened? On the road, everyone's mind was spinning. In broad daylight, forcing the truck to stop and examining the corpses. What kind of people were they? This is crazy. People these days are crazy. F***ck, 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 F***ck. Who are they? Who are they? This is ridiculous. What are you talking about? This isn't an armored vehicle. They must be out of their mind, robbing a corpse transportation truck. You are the one who's out of your mind. It's not like they're here for money. They're here to look for corpses. Tian Huizhao. Who is he, anyway? I'm not sure, but he's definitely a formidable figure. Things weren't peaceful when he was alive, but now that he's dead, people are actually coming to rob his corpse. This Tian Huizhao must be able to rest in peace. What a bunch of idiots. You don't even know who Tian Huizhao is, and yet you keep talking nonsense here. Aren't you embarrassed? What's more laughable is that you can't even tell who those men are. Heh, you sure are something. Tell me then, who did this? What a silly way to goad me. But, I'll satisfy you. The martial art that the martial artist who punched through the roof used just was the Seven Calamities will mantra. Seven Calamities will mantra. This martial art sounds familiar. F***ck. Are you serious? Was that person really using the Seven Calamities will mantra? What's the point of lying to you about this? If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage. What's going on? What on earth is going on? Is there a problem with this Seven Calamities will mantra? There's a big problem. The Seven Calamities will mantra is the Lee family's ultimate art. It's an advanced martial art that can help one reach the 3rd grade. What? Huh? Everyone was stunned. In the next second, be it the pedestrians who were watching the commotion, the owners of the shops, or the drivers driving on the road, everyone took to their heels. The pedestrians fled the street, and the stall owners swiftly shut their stalls. The drivers also left their cars behind and fled on foot. In less than half a minute, Su Jingxing, Kong Debao, his partner, and the driver were the only ones left on the empty street. The latter three stood stunned in silence. Su Jingxing wasn't included because he had known this would happen from the very beginning before the corpse transportation truck was forced to stop. He had overheard their plan to put on an act in front of everyone. He would only know the details of the act after it was staged. Forcing the corpse transportation truck to stop and examining the corpses wasn't the key. The key was the martial art executed by the martial artist who punched through the roof of the truck. The Seven Calamities will mantra. This martial art belonged to the #1 martial arts family in Qinghe City, the Lee family. Anyone who paid attention to the Lee family knew that only their members could cultivate the Seven Calamities will mantra. Besides, not everyone in the Lee family could take a look at this mantra. Only direct descendants and talented collateral descendants had the right to touch it. That was the problem. If the martial artist who punched through the roof had executed the Seven Calamities will mantra, was he a member of the Lee family? Even though the traces of acting were too obvious in the actions of these men in black and anyone who observed them closely could tell that they were putting on an act, no matter how hard one tried to conceal it, the fact that the leader of these men had cultivated the Seven Calamities will mantra could not be concealed. That was a big problem. The Seven Calamities will mantra that only the Lee family's direct descendants and important descendants could cultivate had appeared at this scene. How many people would believe claims that the leader of the men in black wasn't from the Lee family? On the other hand, if he was from the Lee family, what were their intentions then? Why did they do this? Were they the ones who killed Tian Huizhao? Was it the doing of the Lee family? If it wasn't the Lee family, why would they stop the corpse transportation truck to examine the corpses? These questions popped up immediately after the leader of the group executed the Seven Calamities will mantra. For these reasons, everyone else had fled. This concerned the Lee family's reputation, and no one was willing to get involved in the truth. No matter whether that martial artist was from the Lee family or not, no one dared to linger on the scene. If the Lee family went crazy and disregarded everything, spreading their resentment to the spectators, the consequences would be unimaginable. But this was of little importance to Kong Debao and his partner, the driver, and Su Jingxing. They worked at the crematorium, and no matter who killed who and who plotted against who, they couldn't be associated. That said, while that made sense, the actions of these people still shocked Kong Debao and the two others. They were unable to calm down for a long time. The corpse transportation truck, in particular, was so badly damaged that it lay flat on the ground without tires. Kong Debao's mouth fell open. After a while, he said in a hoarse voice, What do we do? What else can we do? Make a call, sighed his partner helplessly. I'll do it. The driver pulled out his phone with shaking hands and dialed the number of the crematorium transportation team to send an empty truck immediately. They exchanged a few words, and the driver's anger erupted. Why would I lie to you? We were really robbed. It happened on the street. First, the tires have burst. Then, the entire truck laid flat on the ground. If it wasn't for Captain Little stopping it in time, the truck would have flown and we would all be dead by now. Enough with the **T, hurry up and send a truck. How do I even know who these people are? If I did, why the **CK would I be driving a corpse transportation truck? Pa! The call ended. The driver had vented his frustrations, but lingering fear was written all over his face. Kong de Bao and his partner were more or less the same. Although from the very beginning, these people had only been attacking the tires and forcing the truck to stop, with no intention of taking their lives. No one could predict the consequences of flat tires. Especially the main road, there were many cars that came and went at a fast speed. The worst-case scenario would be death in a car wreck. Even if they managed to survive, they would be severely wounded. It could also lead to a chain collision, which could result in even more casualties. If it weren't for Su Jingxing, they wouldn't have been able to avoid getting injured. The more they thought about it, the more they resented the men in black. "Can't they wait until we reach the crematorium to examine the corpses?" said Kong de Bao angrily. "Why did we have to cause such a commotion on the streets? There must be a reason. These people are definitely up to no good," said his partner through gritted teeth. Su Jingxing remained silent. Why? Why else? Of course it was to blow the matter up and frame the Li family for killing Tian Huaizhao. Tian Huaizhao was from the headquarters of the Tai Long Corporation, so he must have a powerful background. The chairman of the Tai Long Corporation was already on his way to Qinghe City. When he gets here and hears about the Li family's men seizing Tian Huaizhao's corpse on the streets, would he not visit the Li family? Once he did, it would muddy the water and the people who killed Tian Huaizhao would remain comfortably in the background from then on. Even though this plan was simple, it also had many flaws. However, the appearance of the 7 calamities will mantra had already implicated the Li family, no matter how much they tried to explain it. If I remember correctly, the Tai Long Corporation has a 3rd-grade martial artist holding down the fort. Tisk, things are getting more and more interesting. Su Jingxing concluded internally. The truck that had rushed over from the crematorium arrived quickly. Together, Su Jingxing, Kong de Bao, and his partner moved all the corpses onto the new truck. The damaged vehicle would remain where it was and left to the public security team to handle. They returned to the crematorium. Kong de Bao, his partner, and even the driver joined up with the others to discuss the matter excitedly. Su Jingxing found an excuse to return to his office, closed the door, and brought out the cards he had extracted. He held each card in his palm and read its content. True energy card, true energy card, true energy card, skill card, memory card, true energy card. Most of them were true energy cards with around 5 years of cultivation. There were 2 skill cards, and they contained 2 martial arts. Su Jingxing took a look at them, but they weren't of high level, so he stored them in his palm space for the time being. The only exception was the memory card. After unlocking it, the contents that Su Jingxing got invigorated him. It was 20 years of memories of a martial artist named Chu Ryu. He was Tian Huaizhao's trusted subordinate and had served him since he was a teenager. He was Tian Huaizhao's most loyal subordinate and a sharp sword for killing. As a result, Chu Ryu knew all of Tian Huaizhao's secrets. More than 10 years ago, Tian Huaizhao was only an ordinary person. He was an ordinary hawker in a city near the prefecture city and shared relationships with 5 women because of his good looks. He did not make a lot of money as a hawker, but the 5 women were all wealthy. Every time they went on a date, they would give Tian Huaizhao a sum of money. Of course, it was under the guise of supporting Tian Huaizhao's decision to start a business. Even though Tian Huaizhao failed every time he started a business, he was very glib-tongued and managed to please 5 women who were either pretty, had powerful backgrounds, or were rich. That's right, Tian Huaizhao was both a douchebag and a kept man. Until one day, a man came looking for him. The man's name was Su Tailong, the founder and chairman of the Changyang Prefecture City's Tai Long Corporation. Su Tailong had sought out Tian Huaizhao in a search for his child. Tian Huaizhao was possibly his son who was left outside. Of course, he wasn't a son with his legal wife. Instead, he was a child left behind after Su Tailong's affair. Simply put, he was an illegitimate child. Whether or not this illegitimate child was real had to be verified. In the end, Tian Huaizhao was overjoyed. He really was Su Tailong's son. Even though he was an illegitimate child, he now had a powerful backer. From then on, Tian Huaizhao embarked on a bright road. Not only did he desert the 5 women who fed him, he even rose overnight and entered the headquarters of the Tai Long Corporation. Under normal circumstances, he should have kept a low profile as an illegitimate child. If the wife were to find out, she would most likely kill him secretly. Unfortunately, the son of Su Tailong's legal wife had already died from an illness. Su Tailong had a problem with his reproductive system because he was too promiscuous when he was young, and he only had one son. Unfortunately, this son died from an illness. Helpless, Su Tailong then recalled Tian Huaizhao. Without any threats, Tian Huaizhao could do whatever he wanted. Had it not been for the fact that Su Tailong's wife was still alive, quite capable and scheming, Tian Huaizhao, the illegitimate son, would have long since become the rightful heir of the Tai Long Corporation. Even so, the upper echelons of the Tai Long Corporation headquarters were well aware of Tian Huaizhao's identity. They were a bunch of bootlickers on the surface and in secret. Tian Huaizhao might not have a proper status, but in everyone's eyes, he was a public illegitimate child. With such an identity, he received all kinds of resources. Over a dozen years, he successfully advanced from an ordinary person to a 5th-grade martial artist. Chu Ryu, who had always been his follower, naturally enjoyed the benefits. He also went from a good fighter to a 5th-grade martial artist. This visit to Qinghe City to take over the Tai Long branch office was nothing but a side mission. Tian Huaizhao's real goal was to obtain a mysterious map. A map that could advance him to the 3rd grade. The map was located in Xiantian University. However, after several days of searching, they still couldn't find a single map. Left with no choice, Tian Huaizhao called Su Tailong and learned a secret from him. The scholar restaurants he family knew about the mysterious map. Tian Huaizhao had also learned some of the He family's secrets from Su Tailong. Instead of informing Su Tailong, the audacious Tian Huaizhao openly sought out an old man named He Liren that afternoon and invited him to the top floor of the Tai Long building for a chat. At the beginning, the conversation was normal. Tian Huaizhao hinted a few times, hoping that He Liren would reveal the location of the map. He Liren kept playing dumb. Driven into a corner, Tian Huaizhao revealed He Liren's true identity. Someone from the scholar restaurant's He family. He Liren was merely a false identity intentionally made to deal with outsiders. His real name was He Ren Lai. Then, Tian Huaizhao, Chu Ryu, and the others were killed with one strike all at the same time by He Liren, who turned into a dozen black shadows. Huaizhao's decision to start a business. Even though Tian Huaizhao failed every time he started a business, he was very glib-tongued and managed to please 5 women who were either pretty, had powerful backgrounds, or were rich. That's right, Tian Huaizhao was both a douchebag and a kept man. Until one day, a man came looking for him. The man's name was Su Tailong, the founder and chairman of the Changyang Prefecture City's Tai Long Corporation. Su Tailong had sought out Tian Huaizhao in a search for his child. Tian Huaizhao was possibly his son who was left outside. Of course, he wasn't a son with his legal wife. Instead, he was a child left behind after Su Tailong's affair. Simply put, he was an illegitimate child. Whether or not this illegitimate child was real had to be verified. In the end, Tian Huaizhao was overjoyed. He really was Su Tailong's son. Even though he was an illegitimate child, he now had a powerful backer. From then on, Tian Huaizhao embarked on a bright road. Not only did he desert the 5 women who fed him, he even rose overnight and entered the headquarters of the Tai Long Corporation. Under normal circumstances, he should have kept a low profile as an illegitimate child. If the wife were to find out, she would most likely kill him secretly. Unfortunately, the son of Su Tailong's legal wife had already died from an illness. Su Tailong had a problem with his reproductive system because he was too promiscuous when he was young, and he only had one son. Unfortunately, this son died from an illness. Helpless, Su Tailong then recalled Tian Huaizhao. Without any threats, Tian Huaizhao could do whatever he wanted. Had it not been for the fact that Su Tailong's wife was still alive, quite capable and scheming, Tian Huaizhao, the illegitimate son, would have long since become the rightful heir of the Tai Long Corporation. Even so, the upper echelons of the Tai Long Corporation headquarters were well aware of Tian Huaizhao's identity. They were a bunch of bootlickers on the surface and in secret. Tian Huaizhao might not have a proper status, but in everyone's eyes, he was a public illegitimate child. With such an identity, he received all kinds of resources. Over a dozen years, he successfully advanced from an ordinary person to a 5th-grade martial artist. Chu Ryu, who had always been his follower, naturally enjoyed the benefits. He also went from a good fighter to a 5th-grade martial artist. This visit to Qinghe City to take over the Tai Long branch office was nothing but a side mission. Tian Huaizhao's real goal was to obtain a mysterious map. A map that could advance him to the 3rd grade. The map was located in Xiantian University. However, after several days of searching, they still couldn't find a single map. Left with no choice, Tian Huaizhao called Su Tailong and learned a secret from him. The scholar restaurants he family knew about the mysterious map. Tian Huaizhao had also learned some of the He family's secrets from Su Tailong. Instead of informing Su Tailong, the audacious Tian Huaizhao openly sought out an old man named He Liren that afternoon and invited him to the top floor of the Tai Long building for a chat. At the beginning, the conversation was normal. Tian Huaizhao hinted a few times, hoping that He Liren would reveal the location of the map. He Liren kept playing dumb. Driven into a corner, Tian Huaizhao revealed He Liren's true identity. Someone from the scholar restaurant's He family. He Liren was merely a false identity intentionally made to deal with outsiders. His real name was He Ren Lai. Then, Tian Huaizhao, Chu Ryu, and the others were killed with one strike all at the same time by He Liren, who turned into a dozen black shadows. Courting death. Tian Huaizhao's death was purely his own doing. Su Jingxing believed that, as Su Tailong's only son, Tian Huaizhao definitely had trump cards, defensive treasures, and even spirit weapons on him. But whether it was his trump card or his spirit weapon, he had to make the first move if he wanted to put them to use. However, Tian Huaizhao didn't even have time to react. Who would die if not him? He Ren Lai, who used the alias He Liren, was a 4th-grade martial artist whose cultivation was even stronger than Li Linzhou. Su Jingxing supposed that he was, without a doubt, a century-old monster. In other words, his true energy cultivation exceeded 100 years. If such an expert wanted to kill, would he hold back? Ordinary protective items would not be able to withstand his explosive attacks. Therefore, Tian Huaizhao's death was entirely his own fault. This fellow must be so out of his mind that he dared to threaten He Liren. It would seem more like it if Su Tailong had done that. Compared to Tian Huaizhao's *icidal behavior, Su Jingxing was more concerned about his intentions. A mysterious map. Lu Chen from Xi'an Bank was looking for this map that could allow one to advance to the 3rd grade. The young man who could transform into a golden human was looking for it, and so was Tian Huaizhao, who had the backing of the Tai Long Corporation. For the sake of this map, many factions had come into Qinghe City. There were already 3 factions that Su Jingxing knew of, but he didn't know if there were any more hiding in the dark. But there were most likely more of them. Come to think of it, who wouldn't be tempted by an opportunity that could advance a person to the third grade? Su Jingxing was tempted as well. However, even though he was tempted, it was too difficult to obtain it. If such a huge opportunity had been hidden in Qinghe City, it was impossible for there to be no clues at all. However, it hadn't been exposed for hundreds or thousands of years. From this, one could well imagine how mysterious this opportunity was. Even if he found the map, he might not be able to advance successfully. Especially now that the He family had muddied the waters. Before the map was found, the Tai Long Corporation might first start a war with the Li family. If he got involved now, he might even get himself killed. Having made up his mind, Su Jingxing put away all the cards and decided to feign ignorance. Buzz. 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 Ding. 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 A series of notifications popped up on his phone, and his entire body vibrated. His pupils constricted immediately when he picked it up for a look. The messages were from Shenqian. There were several photos with rather sensational content. Mausoleum treasure. Someone had exposed a shocking secret online. 400 years ago, the tomb of the Yu Nation's founding ancestor, a first-grade powerhouse with the title Rising Dragon Saber King, Lu Chenglong, Great General Lu, was located in Qinghe City. After Lu Chenglong's death, the founding ancestor bestowed him the title of Prince Qin. Great General Lu's tomb was also known as the Mausoleum of Prince Qin. Below the Green Cloud Mountain, Qinghe City. Below Qinghe City, the Mausoleum of Prince Qin. This proverb about the location of the Mausoleum of Prince Qin had been circulating since Lu Chenglong was buried 400 years ago. However, for hundreds of years, no one had been able to find the exact location. All they knew was that it was in Qinghe City. As time passed, no one paid attention to this anymore. However, a few minutes ago, this proverb appeared on a Qinghe City local website again. Accompanying it was an introduction of Lu Chenglong and his life as well as the treasures in the mausoleum. Among these treasures was a treasure that could push a fourth-grade martial artist to the third grade. The great opportunity that Tian Huaizhao and Lu Chen were looking for was none other than the mausoleum of Prince Qin. The mysterious map they were looking for only contained the exact location of the mausoleum of Prince Qin. Not only did the informant expose the origins of the mausoleum, he also informed the public that the exact location of the mausoleum was hidden in 4 secret manuals. Simple explanations of array formations, true energy for beginners, introduction to pills, first look at spirit weapons. And these 4 ancient manuals were hidden in Xiantian University. Shocking. This news was too shocking. Although the post that leaked this information quickly disappeared, and not many people saw it, that only referred to ordinary people. Low-level martial artists, and the various large factions in Qinghe City would definitely find out. The He family sure lives up to its name. Qinghe City is becoming increasingly messy now. Su Jingxing took a deep breath to compose himself before replying to Shenqian. It's true. At the end of the message, Shenqian had asked him if this was true. Su Jingxing wasn't sure if there were any treasures in Qin King City that could advance a person's realm to the third grade. But the mausoleum of Prince Qin really existed. However, if Shenqian and the others dared to poke their nose in opportunity, they would be courting death. Su Jingxing had replied to warn them not to touch it. Even Su Jingxing himself had no intention of getting involved. No one knew who leaked the news. Su Jingxing was 99% certain that the He family was behind this. He could more or less guess the reason. When He Liren killed Tian Huaizhao, he didn't know his identity. Tian Huaizhao didn't reveal that he was Su Tailong's son. However, for the sake of Tian Huaizhao, Su Tailong had personally rushed to Qinghe City. There was an 80% chance that He Liren would find out about this after his investigation. All he had to do was shift the blame to the Li family. However, since Tian Huaizhao was Su Tailong's only son, things were about to get tricky. He had stirred up a hornet's nest. If the third-grade Hirengu was still alive, the He family would have been able to fend him off. The problem was that Hirengu was already dead. Even though the He family had lost its third-grade powerhouse, the Tai Long Corporation had a third-grade martial artist. Moreover, Su Tai Long knew the secret of the He family. He would definitely get to the bottom of this matter. If the third-grade martial artist were to make a move, the Li family might suffer heavy losses, but the He family might very well be wiped out. Would the He family be willing to be annihilated here? No way. They chose to flip the table. Don't you guys want the map? Fine, let's get everyone involved. Let's party together. A treasure left behind by the Rising Dragon Saber King that could allow a fourth-grade martial artist to advance to the third grade. Once the news got out, the entire Changyang prefecture would be in an uproar, let alone Qinghe City. Even if the post on the internet had been blocked and deleted, the major factions would still know. With so many factions involved, fourth-grade and third-grade martial artists appearing, constant fights and clashes would completely muddle the waters of Qinghe City. Under such circumstances, it would be extremely difficult for Su Tailong to find the real murderer, He Liren. Perhaps, he would be killed even before Su Tailong came knocking on his door. In a sense, the He family's plan was ruthless and effective. For the treasure trove of the corrupted official, Jin Mushin, which the Shi family had thrown out, only its origins were known, but the location remained unknown. On the other hand, stating the mausoleum of Prince Qin was clearly telling everyone that not only was the news authentic, it also contained treasures that could advance a person's cultivation to the third grade. Even the exact location of the mausoleum was exposed. The map that contained the address was hidden in 4 ancient manuals. Simple explanations of array formations, true energy for beginners, introduction to pills, first look at spirit weapons. These 4 ancient books were stored in Xiantian University. Once one found the 4 ancient manuals, he would be able to piece together a map and enter the mausoleum of Prince Qin. After that, he would be able to obtain the treasure left behind by the Rising Dragon Saber King and advance to the third grade. Who wouldn't want such an opportunity? Who wouldn't be tempted? Who? Hold on. All of a sudden, Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. Simple explanations of array formations. It isn't the one I took from the library and haven't returned, is it? Su Jingxing was still purchasing energy-gathering stones. Considering that the array formations could be continually stacked, Su Jingxing had not returned the ancient manual, Simple Explanations of Array Formations. It was still kept in his palm space. The He family had leaked the news that a quarter of the map leading into the mausoleum of Prince Qin was hidden in the Simple Explanations of Array Formations. Was it the same one in Su Jingxing's possession? The reason for his suspicion was because Su Jingxing knew that most of the ancient books in the Qinghe City's Xiantian University branch campus library were copies. If the map that the He family spoke of was hidden in the original version, then Su Jingxing would have been overjoyed for nothing. At this thought, Su Jingxing suppressed his racing heart and took a deep breath to compose himself. Activating advanced hearing, he listened to his surroundings to make sure that no one was around. He took out the Simple Explanations of Array Formations from his palm space and leafed through it carefully. However, he did not find anything strange after flipping through the entire manual. He didn't find anything on the second try, and neither did he on the third. Fake. Su Jingxing stopped flipping and closed the book, frowning in thought. Su Jingxing had personally taken the Simple Explanations of Array Formations from the top floor of Xiantian University Library. He had also personally tested the contents of the book. There was no mistake. The He family revealed that there was a quarter of a map in this manual. However, Su Jingxing couldn't find anything. There were only 2 possibilities. Either the Simple Explanations of Array Formations that the He family referred to wasn't a replicated version, but the original, or, there was indeed a map hidden within, but it could not be seen with the naked eye and required special methods to do so. Just like the last pages of the 8 Steps Rising Dragon and 9 Steps Trampling Heaven. Looks like I'll have to trouble Brother Goose again. Su Jingxing murmured. There was a unique way to unlock the secret in this manual. Trying out different methods recklessly would only destroy the secret manual. However, the big white goose's innate ability did not have such a flaw. As soon as the glow lit up, the contents would appear. With this in mind, Su Jingxing put the simple explanations of array formations back into his palm space and left his office. After making up an excuse that he needed to make a trip home, he headed straight for his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. After reaching home, he quickly went into the back mountain and soared into the sky in the woods. Circulating the 8 steps rising dragon to its maximum speed, he headed straight for the Green Cloud Mountain range. At the same time, Xiantian University. In the spacious president's office, all the upper echelons of the university were seated. Among them were the president, Ma Shifeng, the dean of the Institute of Martial Arts, Han Zong, the library director, Liang Yiqing, the head of the logistics department, Gu Shiyang, the head of the security team, and Jiang Cheng. There was also Lu Jufan from the main campus of Xiantian who had come to the Qinghe branch campus to relax. Among them, Han Zong, Liang Yiqing, Gu Shiyang, and Jiang Cheng were 4th-grade martial artists, the strongest in the Qinghe branch campus. If not for special circumstances, the 4 of them would never be in the president's office at the same time. However, at this moment, Ma Shifeng wasn't the only one with a grim expression. Han Zong, Liang Yiqing, and the others also frowned anxiously. Everyone knows the situation. Now, say, what should we do? In the stifling atmosphere, Ma Shifeng broke the silence and said, soon, all the big factions in the city in the prefecture will know about this. Once those people arrive, the entire campus will never have peace again. Losing peace isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is that outsiders don't have any scruples about coming in. If the students stay on campus, I guarantee that someone will get hurt, the dean said softly. Then what's the point of discussing anything? Why don't we just announce a long vacation, said Han Zong in a voice that sounded like a firecracker. Compared to outsiders, I'm more annoyed at the person who leaked the news. King Hell. How dare he say that the 4 ancient manuals with the map are stored in our university? What nonsense is this? It's not nonsense, it's real, Liang Yiqing replied with a sigh. What? Everyone froze. Ma Shifeng's eyes widened in disbelief. Old Liang, what did you find? Ever since the 3 groups of people invaded the library at night to seize the maps the last time, I specially went to investigate some secret information. In the end, I did discover a secret. Liang Yiqing explained in a deep voice. This secret is related to the location of the mausoleum of Prince Qin. Below the Green Cloud Mountain, Qinghe City. Below Qinghe City, the mausoleum of Prince Qin. There are many notes on this in ancient records. I followed this lead and investigated further. I discovered that the map that records the location of the mausoleum of Prince Qin had indeed been broken down into 4 parts and stored in 4 ancient manuals 400 years ago. These 4 manuals are simple explanations of array formations, true energy for beginners, introduction to pills, first look at spirit weapons as exposed. From the very beginning, these 4 ancient manuals were indeed kept in our library. However, after a few hundred years, the first look at spirit weapons had become lost 200 years ago. As for the introduction to pills, it was loaned to someone 70 years ago and hasn't been returned since. As for the remaining 2, simple explanations of array formations and true energy for beginners, they've been with us until now. However, when I went to look for these 2 ancient books a few days ago, only the true energy for beginners was still there, the simple explanations of array formations was suddenly nowhere to be seen. What do you mean by nowhere to be seen? Asked Ma Shifeng in a low voice as he forced himself to maintain his composure. If it's gone, it's gone. What does suddenly gone mean? It just disappeared. There were no traces, no loaning records, no one touched it. It simply disappeared. Liang Yiqing's eyes flashed. Old Liang, do you have some suspicions? Asked Gu Shiyang. Suspicions? Old Liang, why are you still putting on an act at a time like this? Hurry up and tell us. Just who took away the simple explanations of array formations? Han Zong urged when he heard that. It's mainly because I'm not sure, said Liang Yizhan pensively. When the three groups of people broke into the library that night, do you guys still remember the third group, the fourth grade that I only discovered at the end? Are you saying that the mysterious fourth grade martial artist took away the simple explanations of array formations? Ma Shifeng asked with a frown. Yes. Liang Yiqing nodded solemnly. Apart from him, I can't think of anyone else who could be the prime suspect. Even if we know it was him, we have nowhere to start. Said the tall, burly Jiang in a booming voice. Out of the four ancient manuals, only the true energy for beginners remains. How are we going to explain this to those who are watching? Explain. Han Zong glared at him and rebuked, we weren't the ones who lost the ancient manuals. There's no need for us to explain this to outsiders. If you don't explain, how are you going to placate the experts from the major factions who are going to come? Gu Shiyang retorted irritably. So what if they come? Han Zong snorted. If they are so capable, they can tear down the university and raze it to the ground. You. Cough cough. A light cough interrupted the argument. It was Lu Jufen. He narrowed his eyes and said in a low, seductive voice, let's not talk about anything else for now. I'm curious about the true energy for beginners. What kind of map does it contain? Well. Liang Yiqing faltered for a while. Yeah, what kind of map does it contain? Asked Han Zong, raising his eyebrows and grinning. I want to know the answer to that as well. Isn't the true energy for beginners with old Liang? He'd know best what the map looks like, a vice president commented. Cough, cough. Ma Shifeng cleared his throat and slowed down his pace. Old Liang, show us the map. Even though we don't expect to enter the mausoleum of Prince Qin, it's not a bad idea to look at the map first, even if it's only a quarter. The others remained silent, their eyes fixed on Liang Yiqing. I want to see it too. Liang Yizhan was at a loss for words. Spreading his hands, he said, what map? I don't know how many people have touched or read the true energy for beginners, but did anyone find a map hidden inside? No. Not a single one. You can take a look if you don't believe me. With that, he took out an ancient manual and threw it on the desk. These ancient manuals were crafted from special materials, ensuring that their pages and covers could be stored for hundreds or thousands of years. Therefore, even if the content inside was replicated from the original, it had already become an antique by now. In the past, no one would say anything if he dropped it on the ground or on the table. However, now that the matter involved the mausoleum of Prince Qin, the group couldn't help but feel a little nervous, afraid that the book might get damaged. As soon as Liang Yizhan threw it on the table, Lu Jufen picked it up immediately. He carefully held it in his hands and leafed through it. The others slowly shifted their gazes away with his actions. Instantly, the office fell silent. Liang Yiqing had already seen it, and was too lazy to bring it up again. The others were only hoping to discover a hidden map. However, Lu Jufen had flipped through every page from beginning to end, but found nothing. There wasn't even a hint of abnormality, let alone any characters that were intentionally highlighted or annotated. Unwilling to accept this, Lu Jufen released his true energy to envelop the book, but there were no hidden maps appearing either. Are you sure this is real? Lu Jufen pressed, unwilling to give up. Liang Yiqing shrugged. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Lu Jufen questioned with the frown. Because this is the only copy of true energy for beginners in the library, said Liang Yiqing, leaning back. If this is the copy of true energy for beginners that was handed down from 400 years ago, then it's real, and vice versa. It should be real. Ma Shifeng mused, there are many ways to hide secrets in ancient books. If you want to crack it, you have to go in the right direction. If you don't, it won't show up even if you deplete all your true energy. Well, the dean frowned. Does anyone know the direction? I don't, said Liang Yizhi, shaking his head. In any case, I don't know. We can't mess with such encryption methods. If we go in the wrong direction, the entire book will be destroyed, Gu Shiyang warned in a low voice. What should we do then? Han Zong glared. If we can't crack the secret, wouldn't that give the outsiders even more of an excuse to come to the university? That's simple. Ma Shifeng smiled. We don't know the direction, and we don't have the guts to crack it on our own. Let's gather everyone who wants the map and decide together. What?